Fireworks in the sky, but the truth's still buried underground. Royal Low, yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skins. So fuck your founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the row. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective. Other stories so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah. No justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow, every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves. Put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't find me through the truth, you can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort, I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than this. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up pain. So this one's for the ancestors who never got rest, for the names never written but who gave us their best, for the mothers who prayed, for the fathers who ran, for the babies born fighting in the stolen man's plan. This is not disrespect, this is correction. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection. You can keep your parade, I keep speaking the truth. I don't need permission to remember my roots. Royal oak in the soil, truth in the flame. If the crown came with silence, then I don't want the name. But if the crown means standing when the whole world falls, then I'm 10 toes down till the real story's told. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Fireworks fade, but the truth don't die. Royal Low, 4th of July. Not your midnight, not your lie, not your version of my life.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. Okay, so as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so let's get ready to get into it. All right, I see Dangerous Pearly and Truth Brown. Okay, let's get into it. Desmond. BB Scott is here. Love Christie. All right. Dangerous. Okay, let's get it popping. Black Aviator. Okay, 57 Beige Fox. Juju. All right, Anita Harrell. Hedy is here. Lieutenant Muxwa. Deronda. Love Christie. All right, Nessa G, the infamous Marty Marr. Okay, shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, I see you, Jerron. Anita Harrell. Did I say you? Okay, so let's get into it. 27DD is here. So before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Everybody, please hit that like button. Thank you in advance. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it now. We have so many questions, and it looks like we have more questions than answers. All right. So let's talk about some of the things that are so suspicious about this whole case. And trust me, there are a myriad of them. And it's to the point now, like, we really have to be careful because people are putting out so many narratives. It's hard to know what is the lie, what are the lies, and what are the truths. Okay, like I told you all earlier, that whole thing about the girl, Laisha, whatever her name is, Spencer, the fact that she lied and said that she talked to Carmelo, I mean, not Carmelo, the fact that she lied and said she talked to Nolan's mother. Okay, that was a serious lie. That was like no little white lie, something you could just, look at as minuscule. That was a huge lie. So, with that being said, if she wants to say something like that, I just can't trust anything that she says, even though some of what she said absolutely sounds plausible. Okay, but at the end of the day, we still can't trust it. You see, here's what's going on. If you all remember during the Diddy trial, okay, before I went to New York, and I was, we were gathering receipts and all of that. And I told you all, some of these people are just saying stuff and throwing it in the pot. And some of it may have sounded plausible, and some of it seemed like it made sense. But then we found out that a bunch of these people are just making these things up. Okay, I even interviewed one of them on the show, but I already knew she was lying before I interviewed her because I told you all that the day before. So I just want you all to pay attention. Now, here's the thing that I don't want us to do. I don't want us to be like the silly MAGA minions who believe something just because it fits their narrative. Y'all understand what I'm saying? I don't want us to be sitting up here believing things just because they fit and suit our narrative. Okay, let's put on our critical thinking caps so we can figure this out because we don't want to be chasing a lie when the truth is somewhere else. Okay? Now, I'm not saying everything that she said about that party, is a lie or whatever. I don't know if it's truth or not. I just don't really believe it. I just don't believe it. The timeline doesn't add up to me. If they're saying, and this is Nolan's mom who said that, Mrs. Christine Wansley, said that Warren called her at 11:07. Okay, Warren supposedly called the Coast Guard some round at 11. But I think it's interesting that the Coast Guard changed their story, so I'm not even too sure about that. But what I do know for sure is that Nolan's mom said that she got a call from Warren at 11:07. Okay, and they were supposedly having that pool party with a big fight and all of that sometime after midnight. Okay, I'm not believing that, because why would you have to lie and throw that in and say that you talked to his mother? And why hasn't she gone to the police? If you know all of these things, if you've seen all of this and you know that they beat Nolan, they put his body on a boat and they took it back and all of that, why didn't you go to the police? Now, we could say, well, maybe she's scared to go to the police, but here's the thing. You can give them anonymous tips through Crime Stoppers. You don't have to tell them who you were. And from that picture, there was a bunch of people at a pool party. Okay, so she could easily have done something anonymously. Okay, so I don't believe that story anymore. I want to get to the truth. Okay, I don't want to be going around, chasing, what do you call it, on a wild goose chase. That's what I don't want to do. Okay, the Forever Cali Girl said she did both. If she said she went to the police, when did she say that? When did she say that? I didn't see anywhere, and I'm not saying she didn't, beloved, but can you send me that? Because I didn't see anywhere where she said she went to the police or approached them or sent them something anonymously, nor did I hear anyone else who reported on it saying that. So please send me that. And so from now on, when people are telling me stuff, I'm going to need receipts. Okay, no more just listening to things because it sounds plausible, like I said. I want to get to the bottom of this. Nolan's family deserves justice, and I don't want to be sitting here chasing bullcrap, like I said. Okay, so now let's talk about the things that are also suspicious and clearly make no sense. Let's talk about it, because I wrote down a list. Okay, and if you all find that I left out anything, please let me know. Okay, my email is Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. I'm going to put it in the chat so you know how to spell it correctly, beloved. Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur at gmail.com. There you go, and thank you. Okay, just please send me that, and so I can look at it and I'll share it with everybody. Okay, now here's the first thing that's suspicious. The phone, the car keys, and wallet were with friends. Okay, and they never voluntarily returned this to the mother. Now, let me just say this also, because it's very important to note that the media from day one, as well as the police, they have been painting a narrative. They have been putting something out there, basically victim blaming, because the first thing they said, hold on, let me just pull this up. And I want you all to pay attention. This is very important, because when they start doing things like this, the police and the media, then this takes on a life of its own. Okay. Now, this is what Sheriff Ledbetter said. Wells was last seen on the northwest tip of Horn Island on the afternoon of July 4th. Officials said he was on a boat trip with friends when they left without him. And this is what the sheriff says. From what we understand, he chose to stay there. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter told ABC, adding he doesn't suspect foul play. Authorities believe he drowned, but are continuing their investigation, according to the outlet. Now, when you say things like that, it reeks of that you've already come to a conclusion. And if, in fact, you've already come to a conclusion, what would make us think that you're going to actually be doing a thorough investigation? Also, I find it a bit strange that the sheriff says, from what we understand, he chose to stay there. So he's putting the onus on Nolan himself. Now, why would he say from what they understand? Because clearly that's what the friends told him. It never occurred to a sheriff who's been a sheriff for a few years now, whose grandfather was a sheriff. Okay, that's another thing. Let me just tell you all this before I forget. You see, Sheriff John Ledbetter, because I did a little research on him, he's pretty powerful down there in Mississippi. Okay, he's pretty powerful down there. Okay, and also his grandfather, John Ledbetter, was served as the Jackson County Sheriff from 1976 to 1984. Okay, the current Sheriff Ledbetter represents the third generation of his family to live in Jackson County, and he frequently cites his grandfather's 8-year legacy as his primary inspiration for entering law enforcement. Okay, call that nepotism. Now, with that being said, as I was saying, he is supposedly very powerful. Now, he came out immediately saying that he chose to stay there. Like the decision was his. Nobody left him. He wanted to be there. Okay? And then immediately says after, listen, we don't suspect foul play. However, authorities believe he drowned but are continuing their investigation. Well, why would you automatically just think that he drowned? And then if that's what you think, that's called tunnel vision. When the police immediately focus in on one thing or one person and they don't look elsewhere, are they really doing a thorough investigation? No, they're not, because they're only looking at what they want to see. Okay? So he's going by what those kids told him. And let me tell you something. This is the same reason, because Sheriff Ledbetter said this. This is exactly why his parents, Nolan's parents, went to Ben Crump. I do absolutely respect law enforcement, she said, but the accidental drowning thing, it made both me and his father uncomfortable. Why are we so quick to rush to this? Okay. And yeah, that's why they went and got Ben Crump. And why were they so quick to rush to this? It's just like the lynchings when Black people are strange fruit. Nothing to see here, folks. No evidence of foul play. But how do you know there's no evidence of foul play when you had not even spoken to all of the people that were there with Nolan? You hadn't talked to their parents. You didn't even talk to his so-called best friend, Javon. Okay? But you came to a conclusion that quick? Yeah, that makes no sense. And when things don't make sense, it's a lie. Also, people were saying that Katie McCormick was his girlfriend. She isn't. They say girlfriend's mother. Now, I showed you all this the other day. And the mother, Gracie McCormick, okay, says Katie had a conversation and assumed that Nolan was getting ready to get on the boat. He came in. Katie made it home because she was on another boat with different people. Katie was safe because my brother and sister-in-law went and got her. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him. Me and my family have talked called and are sending up prayers to bring Nolan home. We have given all the answers we can give to his mom and the authorities. Why did Katie and her mom talk to the authorities and Nolan's mother, but his own friends didn't? And even when the father went to get the keys, he didn't say anything about the friend, showing or offering any empathy or support, asking how he was doing. Are you all okay? I'm so sorry this happened. We hope we get to the truth. Didn't say any of that. All he did was pretend that he didn't have those keys. But hold on. And then here's another thing. When they went on Good Morning America, you see how these things take on a life of their own? Like I said, first Ledbetter said, he chose to stay there. It's no evidence of foul play. And that's what made the mother and father uncomfortable. And they went and got Ben Crump. But also when they did that interview on Good Morning America.
Before we get started, first off, I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. You know how extremely tough it must be, and we can express our how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day. Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would.
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're going to ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I was telling him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5.
Okay, so here's the thing. Why did Michael Strahan ask them that? Why do you think Nolan wouldn't want to, go back with his friends? Why would he want to stay behind? So he's putting out the same narrative. And for him to ask the parents that, I don't think that was cool. I immediately noticed that when he said it, because I felt like that's almost a trick question. Why are you asking them that when you don't even know if that's what they believe or think? And they're grieving. So that was not a good thing to ask them. Maybe he should have said, do you all believe what the friends are saying about Nolan having chose to stay there and not wanting to ride back with them? Do you believe the narrative? That's what he should have asked them. But the way he phrased it is if it was already set in stone and true, that's what Nolan did. You see how that works? And when you keep putting that out there from different media source to different media source to the police saying it, and now you're asking the family, okay, the MAGA millions, that just gives them something to roll with. Okay. And that's what happens because, the MAGA millions don't have any media literacy and they don't have any critical thinking skills. That's what we know. You see, you have to have media literacy because that's when you have the ability to access, analyze, and evaluate and create and understand media in various forms. Okay. Well, that all being said, you have to be able to decode messages. You have to be able to recognize and realize misinformation when it's been spewed. Right. And then if you can't do those things, then you'll just believe whatever the media is saying. And most of us should have the sense enough to know by now that the media lies, that they spew propaganda, and that they always try to demonize and vilify Black victims. That's what they do. And then they victim blame. It's always our own fault. If that had been a white child that was missing and then found dead, do you think they would be saying, well, he chose to stay? No, they wouldn't. They would be saying his friends left him there. Why do you think his friends left him there all alone on that island with no way home for certain? That's what he would have asked white parents, I guarantee you. You see, that's what he would have done. But with us, it's always accusatory, as though we did it to ourselves, as though we are the ones that are in the wrong. Okay, please pay attention. All right, now with that all being said, there is a young man. Now, I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. So from now on, I'm going to say, take everything that we hear from people on the outside, okay, with a grain of salt, okay? Because some people are just making up stuff. Now, that being said, this man on Facebook, I just happened upon his page, and he claims to have spoken with Javon's mother last night. Said that she may be on a podcast with him at 7. That's why I was late, because I was looking to see if he was doing the live and she was on there, and no, they weren't on there. Okay, but here's what he said last night, or about last night. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like this video. It's very important. It helps get us through the algorithm. Okay, and also it doesn't cost you anything.
Mother, to get some clarifications of the TMZ situation, because we wanted to know why he took that interview and why he went on TMZ. And this was something that, if you joined my live last night, you know that me and her had 2 heated arguments, quick arguments on live last night. And but we did speak this morning, and we got some clarification, and cool heads prevailed. So we will be live tonight, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Talking That Ish with JT on my TikTok, to speak on some of the issues that I've learned and some of the things that I'm learning daily about the situation. That she did not know that her son was taking that TMZ interview. The way that he got the interview, I will address tonight on my TikTok, like I said, between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. I think I'm preferably moving it to 7 p.m. to start time. So if you really want to understand what's going on, then you can come on my TikTok at 7 p.m. We also have a panel of guests. It's great questions, great answers. We have people coming in from the Mississippi area that's giving their insight on it. Like I said, his mother could pop in. It's all up to her. Javon's mother could pop in. And by the way, her name is Tashima. I'm not sure if her last name is Williams or not, but I'll say Tashima. And that is in fact Nolan's mother's best friend, one of her close friends. Tashima is who you hear Nolan's mother speak of when she says she sent her friend Tashima over there to pick up the keys. That is in fact the lady that I spoke to this morning that, gave me clarification that she did not know that her son done an actual interview, but he wanted to do it to speak his friend's name in existence, try to help find some situations. And I know there's a lot of questions about that interview. Like I said, we'll talk about it tonight. And it's possible she could step in, and she did have family members step in too last night. That popped up periodically if they was honestly them, but I have done a verification that this is actually her that I'm speaking of. So like I said, if you really want to find out what's going on, tune in tonight. Of course, we don't know exactly what's going on, but just from what I've learned from her and her perspective of the TMZ situation, she has reached out to TMZ. She's waiting on them to give a return, because that is a minor child, and she did not give them permission to interview her son. So they are in fact waiting on a conversation to happen with TMZ. So that's what she told me. That's what we're going to talk about. If you want to come in, see y'all tonight at 7 p.m. on TikTok on Talking That Ish with JT. Oh, quickly, TMZ will have the opportunity to send some personnel, any representative of TMZ, if they want any kind of clarification in this live. This is not saying that they will actually come or that I've even communicated with anybody for TMZ, though I have tried to reach out, and I'm waiting to see if somebody will give me a message back about the situation. But I'm definitely waiting to hear back from it to see if that is actually the case. But if somebody or a representative from TMZ does want to come and give us some clarification of if this or didn't take place the way it is, feel free.
Okay, that all sounds crazy to me, but hold on. I want you all to check out this other video real quick.
The case of Nolan Wells continues to be filled with unanswered questions, but as more information comes out, it appears the truth is coming to light. This time, we are seeing conflicting stories and timelines from the accused. On Sunday, another friend of Wells, Trayson Shepard, would for the first time speak about the day in which he would reveal that he was actually the person in the viral video at Horn Island heard yelling. In a new interview with Rolling Stone, Shepard would go on to admit that he wanted to fight someone after they would comment on he and his girlfriend arguing. I told him he needed to mind his own business. From the Rolling Stone article, it reads, Shepard says the exchange became heated and that he and the other man ended up getting into a physical altercation. Shepard's uncle, who had raised him like a father, told Shepard to get out of the water and onto his boat so they could head back home. Shepard complied, but once he got on the boat, he changed his mind and decided he wanted to go back. Shepard's friends had by that point begun defending him on shore. Around this time, another adult on a nearby boat started filming the video. My exact wording is, get me off this effing boat. I wanted to fight, and I feel like I hadn't had my fair share. Now, what makes Shepard's new admission interesting is that it looks to have exposed lies and inconsistencies with Nolan's friends, whom he traveled to the island with, saying that they last saw Nolan at 3 p.m. that day. If you can recall, the video that captured the aftermath of Shepard's confrontation would end up being captured at 4:01 p.m. And in this interview with Rolling Stone, Shepard would confirm that Nolan was actually in the water out of view on camera at that time, as well as noted in this new interview that he was around Nolan and friends at 3:30 p.m., meaning Nolan was still very much near everyone else, despite his friends reporting to police that they last saw him at 3 p.m. Now, from this Rolling Stone interview, Shepard's admission goes on to reveal Shepard says the man in the video, who people think is Wells, is too short to be his 6'2" friend. He says Wells is not shown in the video at all, that he was just out of frame, hanging out in the water. Now, according to official reports and a statement made by one of the young man's stepmother, who happens to also be a judge, Ashley Cole, would state her stepson and friends would leave the island around 4:30 p.m. due to issues with their boat. In her statement, she would say, Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last at around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taken on water, and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Now, what's interesting about this statement is that a leaked direct message from Warren's biological mother several days before to a Facebook user looks to contradict his statement by a stepmother. To note, Warren's biological mom's message would take place before Nolan's body was found, in which it was only thought he was only a missing person, making it appear for some that this new changing of times and separating them to last seeing Nolan at 3 p.m. is part of a cover-up. Warren
Okay, now if you all remember, I reported this the other day. I said that she changed the time. The time didn't add up. She said 3 o'clock, okay, and then say they last saw Nolan at 3 o'clock and left around 4:30. And then we saw two other sources that said it was closer to 5 o'clock. Okay, but let's keep listening.
Warren's actual mother would go on to write, I am Warren's mother, the woman you have been talking about on Facebook and posting pictures of our family. I'm here to tell you that we all love Nolan and we are deeply distraught. Your information is not correct, and I ask you to please stop posting about Warren and our family. My son did not ride out with him, nor did he come back with him. the boat that Nolan was supposed to get on, Wyatt's boat. He repeatedly asked Nolan to get on the boat at 5 when it was time to leave, but Nolan wanted to stay with the girl and their boat was parked next to his. He was insistent about staying with this girl. Wyatt asked him several times to please get on the boat, and the people heard him. My son loves him and would never in 1 million years leave him. Warren does not even have a boat. Nolan has been to our house several times and he is the sweetest friend. We all adore him. Again, when Wyatt asked for him to get on, he said he wanted to stay, and Wyatt boat started to fill with water. His boat ended up breaking down and was towed in. Now, as shown, Nolan is documented due to his friend's new interview with Rolling Stone to being near everyone at 3:30 p.m. and again at 4 p.m. when the altercation happened, and not 3 p.m. as stated by Warren's stepmom, as well as a leaked message from Warren's actual mom that now places Nolan speaking with his friends about leaving around 4:35 p.m. Again, not 3 p.m. It is under these conditions that speculation has grown. What happened. Now, according to a Facebook post that was made at the top of Nolan's disappearance, the young lady whom he was talking to's sister allegedly looked to have filled in more of what took place. According to her post, as Nolan's friends pressured him with ending his conversation with her sister so he can ride back with them. Katie had a conversation and assumed that Nolan was getting ready to get on the boat he came out in. Katie made it home because she was on another boat and with different people. Katie was safe because my brother and her sister-in-law went and got her. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him. Me and my family have talked, called, and are sending up prayers to bring Nolan home. We have given all the answers we can give to his mom and authorities. Now, with this series of information and reports, some are now feeling that Nolan may have been swimming to get on the boat and his friends would leave him in the water, thus being an explanation for some on why his friends are now separating when they last saw Nolan at 3 p.m. and when they left, instead of it all happening at once, as first indicated by Warren's mother, to hide that they knew Nolan was in the water to get back on the boat. Now, if this isn't the case and only speculation, then according to these statements and new interview, Nolan's friends would not see him for close to 2 hours, despite him still being documented with being on Horn Island shore with Shepard and others at 3:30 p.m. and later at 4 p.m., right after Shepard's confrontation. A part of that theory, one of the biggest questions that come up is why was the Coast Guard contacted at 11 p.m. by his friends, leaving some to speculate that they knew Nolan was in the water when they last saw him, because for some following the case, it makes no sense that his friends would conclude Nolan was in serious danger and is in possible need of search and rescue, when according to them was last seen safely talking to a girl.
Okay, I want you all to pay attention because this is exactly what I said days ago. Now, just keep listening because this video, they're repeating things that I absolutely said. Okay, please pay attention.
To note, Nolan's father would state that he remembers seeing people camping on the island overnight when he searched for Nolan the following morning, meaning there was never a moment when the island was empty, meaning Nolan could have used another person's phone on the island if he was stuck. So what did his friends suspect about Nolan that night that would make them think of calling the Coast Guard? According to outlet WLOX, the first time the Coast Guard would be contacted about Nolan was on July 4th at 11 p.m., but it was later determined that it did not need their assistance. The Coast Guard told WLOX on Thursday, July 9th, that a friend of Wells contacted agency around 11 p.m., the night of July 4th. The Coast Guard would not disclose any information about the call to WLOX, but said it did not require Coast Guard assistance. A part of this, some are asking, what did Nolan's friends know, since Nolan had no way of contacting them after allegedly leaving his phone on the boat? Now, following this first report from the Coast Guard, they would eventually get involved the next day at 12:26 p.m. after being contacted by local police. The statement confirming this taking place would for some align with the theory that his friends knew he was in the water. As it reads, they were requested to search in the vicinity of Horn Island and not on Horn Island. At 12:26 p.m., Coast Guard Sector Mobile received a request for assistance from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office in search of a missing person in the vicinity of Horn Island. Sector watchstanders issued an urgent marine information broadcast and diverted a Coast Guard helicopter to search the area. Currently, as of this report, questions remain, like how did they know Nolan never made it back to land if they last saw him just talking to a girl? And again, why would the Coast Guard be a thought to call? As of now, many continue to speculate, especially after a new photo would go viral over the weekend and later debunked by Shepard of Nolan allegedly attending a pool party that night. According to another interview with ABC News, Shepard will go on to say that the pool party happened on June 27th, and this would also be verified by metadata according to Rolling Stone. Now, the same story
Okay, so you all see how these lies are coming out. Now, I told you all this morning that they said that picture was taken June the 27th. Okay, we cannot be getting caught up with the lies and the BS. Like, people are trying to lead us in the wrong direction. And also, here's the thing, too. That young lady with the Spencer account who said that she spoke to the mother and was given all these details or whatever. One thing that I also noticed right away is that she said that the mother at the house, Evan's mother, because I believe the pool party was at Evan's house, according to them or her. So Evan's mother was threatening to put them out and to call the police, or saying that she put them out, told them to leave, or she was going to call the police, right? Because they were fighting. And then said that people left, but Nolan didn't. He was sitting by the basketball goal by the pool, coughing up blood. So you mean to tell me this lady sat there and she knew that someone got killed at her house and she didn't call the police, or she didn't try to do anything, but she threatened to call the police because they were fighting? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Okay, that doesn't even make any sense. Mary Johnson, beloved, if you can't hear me, I don't know what's going on with your device, but it isn't me, because the volume's up as high as it can go, beloved. Excuse me, and everyone else can hear. You may need to go out and come back in. Try doing that, okay? I hope that helps. Now, with that being said, none of this stuff is making sense. Okay, now the video or this picture was deleted. I'm not sure why it was deleted, but I also want you all to pay attention to the fact that he said something about Nolan's friends could have left him, and then he tried to swim to the boat. Now, that sounds like what I told you all I dreamt about the other day, that I had a dream that they were playing cat and mouse with him. He was trying to come to the boat. They would back up. Then he was trying to come. Then they would back up. And then he tried to come. They back up. Okay, now with that all being said, listen, I can't say that dream's 100% accurate, because I told you all 1,000 times, when I have my prophetic dreams, I always have them between the hours of 2 a.m. to 7 a.m., because that's when you're in a state of REM when you're sleeping. And so that's when I usually have my prophetic dreams. Now, when I dreamt this, I was taking a nap during the day. So I can't really say that's 100% conclusive, but I do find it interesting that he said something very similar to what I said. Okay, but anyway, and as it pertains, well, let's keep going, because this is almost done.
It spread on Facebook and other parts of social media when the user would allege that Nolan was beat up at this party and later dropped back off on the island. The person would even claim to have spoken to Nolan's mother, in which Nolan's mother now looks to have expressed that the person spreading this story is not a close friend of his, as they claim, nor did they ever speak to her. As of this report, people following the story continue to wait to the now 2 autopsies conducted to better confirm what may have happened to Nolan that day. Let's talk about it more in the comments below.
Okay, this is all getting real crazy, and I'm starting to get really annoyed at these people who are just making up blatant lies. Okay, and what are the police really doing? I have so many questions, because it just doesn't seem like the police are doing a thorough and accurate job, in my opinion. Now, they say that they've been talking to these kids, but here we are. Today's the 13th. Okay? Today is the 13th. This is almost 10 days later. Why are you just now talking to them? All right, please make it all make sense. And why hasn't anyone been arrested? Because if they were messing with Nolan's phone, which they were, and they had his phone and all of that, and then he also said that they called the Coast Guard. And why would they call the Coast Guard if they thought if they claimed the last time they saw Nolan, he was fine? I told you all that too, because that didn't make any sense. So that lets us know they know something. But what do they know? And why doesn't the sheriff think that's suspicious? Why would he say there's no reason to suspect foul play when we all look at the things that have happened and it sincerely looks like foul play? But hold on. Let's talk about more of the suspicious activity. Okay, so first of all, as I said, the phone and the car keys, the wallet were all at the friend's house. The father went to get the wallet or went to get the car keys in the car. The friend lied and acted like he didn't know where they were. But a girl who wasn't even at the house, who was on FaceTime, knew exactly where the keys were. How would she know that they were sitting on top of the Xbox, but he didn't see them on top of the Xbox? People usually have their Xbox in their living room where the TV is, or maybe in their room where the TV is. But nonetheless, if it's sitting on top of the Xbox, you likely should have noticed it. So why was he trying to hold on to the keys? Why didn't you even bring the items to the family when you didn't hear back from Nolan? And also, why did they wait all day? Like I said from day one, why did they wait all day to call and act as though they were concerned about Nolan? Okay, Warren called at 11 o'clock at night. Okay, he didn't think it was anything suspicious by the fact that Nolan never came to get his phone, or Nolan never called him from someone else's phone to ask about his phone. Okay, here's the thing too. The body, or I'm sorry, he was reported, hold on. The wallet was with friends, and all of the items were never voluntarily returned to the parents. Okay, missing on the 4th, right? But the body was found Monday, so it didn't wash in with the tide on Sunday. That's a bit strange. It was immediately ruled an accidental drowning, or speculated to be one. Okay. Friends and parents, at least the judge specifically, Judge Cole, deleted their social media. All right. And then lawyered up. All suspicious activity. Because if my friend was missing and then their body was found, I wouldn't be thinking about hiring a lawyer. Be thinking about going to comfort the parents and trying to figure out what the hell happened to my friend. How did they turn up dead? These things are just not normal behavior, is what I'm saying. Okay, the next thing is they didn't reach out to the family to offer condolences. They didn't join in on the search. They waited more than 5 hours to contact the mom. They contacted the Coast Guard if they knew that he was in the water or something was not right and that he was somewhere on that island. And why would they be thinking that? As I said previously, Judge Cole's statements, those were damage control. That's suspicious. Katie Hudson, Warren's biological mom, she made statements trying to immediately clear him of any suspicion, talking about how much they loved Nolan and how Nolan came to their house. What was that all about? And why did she feel the need to come out and say that? Okay, and specifically so soon. Okay, why Javon was on TMZ. Now, why he wanted us to think that it was not about race, when clearly it is. Okay? And you see, he was trying to change the narrative, in my opinion. As I said, now this guy who came out talking about he talked to Nolan's mom or talked to Javon's mom, and she said she didn't know about the interview. I don't believe that. Because why would his mother not know about the interview? Who did TMZ get in touch with? Did they call him on his cell phone? And if so, how did they get his number? It seems like he was put out there in the forefront, like I told you all before, for him to do that interview because he's Black. So that he could say, because here's the thing, like I told you earlier, they want a Black person to be the one to say it's not about race. Because we know that's what they always want to say, because they know that it actually is always about race, and it's do so because of them. So to get a Black friend to come out and say, yeah, everybody's going to say it's about race because things aren't adding up. Okay, that was the play on that, in my opinion. Now, the cops and the media used the same accusatory words for Nolan. Messages from the Laisha, whatever her name is, Spencer, or it can't be believed because she lied about Nolan's mom. Okay. The Coast Guard changed their story after Ben Crump got involved. That's when the Coast Guard came out and changed their story. Oh, yeah, we forgot. Someone did actually call us after 11 o'clock that night, but we are not going to tell you who it was. Because now that goes along with what they said about Warren contacting them. Previously, they had not said that, and I thought that was strange. Okay. Why the friend didn't just give his dad the keys? Okay, I already said that. Why not make an arrest for some of the small things? You see, here's the thing. Now, the police could have, if they wanted to, and they don't want to, and why? Because the police are supposed to want to solve crime, right? They're supposed to want to get justice and put criminals in jail. So why didn't the police arrest the kids for having Nolan's phone, especially when the mother said that messages were deleted? Okay, because if you had his phone, didn't turn it over to the parents voluntarily, and then you had the nerve to erase or delete things, well, that's tampering with evidence because his phone would, in fact, be considered evidence. But they didn't do anything. And what you do, and that's something minuscule, but what happens is if you arrest teenagers, okay, if you arrest them for something small, now they're scared. And that's how you get them to talk. The police know this. The police know this. This is one of the things they taught us when I went to school for criminal justice about the good cop, bad cop, about how to conduct interrogations, about how to trick people into telling on themselves or others. Okay? So I know this, and I'm not even a cop. You mean to tell me the sheriff, Ledbetter, didn't know that that was the thing to do, to get them on something small, bring them in, and then break them down, start terrifying them, and make them think that if anything nefarious happened to Nolan and we find out, that you're the one that's going to be in trouble. So you might want to start talking and telling us what really happened. That's what I would have done. Why didn't the sheriff do that? What about the alcohol? They were all too young to be drinking alcohol, and allegedly they were doing drugs. Sheriff could have brought them in about that and questioned them. Who gave you all the alcohol? Who bought it for you? You couldn't have bought it yourselves. Was it one of your parents? Who did it? Did you get someone older? We heard you all were doing illegal substances. Tell the truth, or we can take you to the hospital right now and have you all take toxicology exams. I mean, there's millions of ways to have gotten those kids to tell them something that would have been, relevant to the investigation. And the fact that they didn't do any of these things is very, very suspicious. Reeks of a whole cover up as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm going to go to some videos that I pulled up from TikTok, okay? So you all can hear what people are saying. But then I want to read this article. Okay, I want to read this article after that. So let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. That's right. Reggie says, scare them straight. Hey, Trayvon, beloved. Okay, yeah, scare them straight. Exactly. You see, that's what you do. That's what you do. Ebony Plumber says, why isn't Jake Lane going around saying the white parents are failures like he was doing for black parents? Well, beloved, I'm sure we all know why he isn't doing that, okay? He was clearly trying to paint narratives. Betty Boop says that boat needs forensic testing. Exactly. When we've heard that the boat was being scrubbed at like 2 or 3 in the morning, you think the sheriff hasn't heard that? Of course he did. And according to sources, now I don't know if it's true or not, because again, we have to take everything with a grain of salt, but supposedly a neighbor saw them scrubbing the boat, and that neighbor supposedly contacted law enforcement. Now, if that is true, and even if it isn't, law enforcement has clearly heard about that story because they watch social media just like we do. You mean to tell me they didn't have that boat brought in for evidence so they could use luminol to maybe see if there's any blood or any type of bodily fluids on there? They didn't bring it in to do any type of investigation? Like, that's crazy. Okay, that's absolutely crazy. And so it's just all nefarious. But let's go to these videos.
Dion Walton of Covington, Alabama, also drowned in a lake with his friends. It was overshadowed for 2 reasons. 1, because of the whole situation with Nolan Wells, and 2, because his family just kind of accepted the story from the coach and the friends, because the story is that he jumped off the pier with some friends to swim out to an island. They wanted to see who could swim out to the island the fastest. And Dion's not a great swimmer. I guess he started to cramp up and then tried to turn around and swim back to the pier. And he didn't make it. But the coach told his uncles that he himself and the owner of the home, the parent who owned the home, jumped into the pond or into the lake to try to find him. And they couldn't find him. They looked, the kids looked, nobody could find him. Here's where I draw issue with that. If you're swimming in a straight line from the pier to an island and you were to drown, I'm not saying that there's no such thing as undertow, but I am saying you wouldn't get that far that fast that nobody would find you. In my mind, anyway. Might this situation have been actual just accidental drowning? Yes, but due to the history of the South and all of the current events of the South, it's worth questioning. Definitely worth questioning. His uncles say he wasn't a great swimmer, obviously, so maybe it's just a case of drowning. But Covington, Alabama, a predominantly white school with all white people. Once again, he's the only black person there. Deserves a head scratch or two, you dig? Either way, rest in peace to that young man. I hope his family finds some kind of peace. And as a community, we really need to understand that our children need to be protected. Whether this is a case of malicious intent or not, our children need to be protected, and never, ever, ever should you be the only one. Okay, bye.
No, that story didn't make sense to me either. For those of you that tuned in, I reported that the other day. And here's the thing. If he wasn't a good swimmer, why would his family believe that he jumped into a lake trying to swim to some island? Okay, why would he be in a swim competition if he couldn't swim? And like he said, you're swimming in a straight line trying to get to a certain area point, but nobody could find you. When they say they jumped in, they couldn't find him. That just doesn't sound right, okay? I don't believe it.
Take y'all back. I want to take y'all back to the...
Oh, hold on. And let me say one more thing. You all do know that the Klan and wanton supremacists in general, they have a history of throwing black folks in lakes. And if you remember, they even threw Emmett Till in the lake after they killed him. If you remember, his body was found, I think it was found in the lake or the river, right? Tied to a cotton gin. So this is just something that they've always done. Okay, but let's continue.
Year 2014, because that's when I started noticing the patterns. That's when I started noticing more and more terrible things kept reoccurring to black folks. November 22nd, 2014, 12-year-old Tamir Rice is shot and killed in Cleveland by a cop for playing with a toy gun that looked real. July 17th, 2014, 43-year-old Eric Gardner is put in a chokehold that is banned by cops and choked to death outside a store in Staten Island, New York for selling cigarettes. And it was like almost every year after that, or almost every other year after that, more terrible shit kept happening to black folks. June 17, 2015, 21-year-old Dylan Roof walks into an African Methodist church in Carolina and takes the lives of 9 black folks during a Bible study. Now that was just egregious, like real wicked. July 5th, 2016, 37-year-old Alton Sterling is shot 6 times in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, outside a convenience store because I guess he looks suspicious. Bro, listen, the day after that, July 6, 2016, 32-year-old Philando Castile is shot 7 times during a routine traffic stop by a cop with his child and wife in the car. I believe that happened in Minnesota. In 2019, 23-year-old Elijah McCain has his life taken by a cop who forcibly restrained him on the ground. Then paramedics injected him with a fatal dose of ketamine. February 23rd, 2020, 25-year-old Ahmad Arbery is killed while jogging through a neighborhood in Georgia. It was ruled a hate crime and racially motivated. March 13, 2020, 27-year-old Breonna Taylor is shot multiple times by 3 cops who entered her home under a no-knock search warrant. May 25, 2020, 46-year-old George Floyd has his life taken by Officer Derek Chauvin, who kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes while George Floyd pleaded that he cannot breathe. July 6, 2024, 36-year-old Sonia Massey is shot in the face by an officer after she herself called law enforcement to report suspicious behavior outside her house and told the officer, "I rebuke this evil in the name of Jesus." Officer shot in her face. I want to rewind this because I didn't even mention what happened to Mike Brown back in 2014, who surrendered on the ground with his hands up, telling the cops don't shoot, and was executed. I didn't even mention what happened to Sandra Bland back in 2015, who lost her life in a Texas jail after they ruled it a suicide, even though all the evidence suspected foul play. And keep in mind, that's not even all the victims. Trayvon Martin was the year before 2014. That's what really sparked the whole movement. Almost a decade later, and we still have terrible things happening to black folks. That's why this whole Nolan Wells case That photo of Nolan Wells surrounded by what seems to be 3 white friends of his at the time, when this case first came out, and everybody looking at that photo, and everybody is suspecting this is definitely a race thing, but then you still got people making the statement or asking the question, why does everything have to be about race? Where the fuck have you been the last decade?
Everyone's last sighting of No-No was him out of breath, coughing up blood on a basketball court at Evan's house. Evan, Morgan, Wyatt, Warren, all y'all ass going to jail for murder. Y'all thought y'all was gonna kill No-No and ain't nobody was gonna find out about it? Let me break this shit down real short and sweet. They had a small altercation on Horn Island that was Wyatt and No-No. Nolan got into it with Wyatt. It was a small altercation. They didn't kill him on the island. That's what I'm trying to say. But let's fast forward. They go to Evan's pool party. They invite Natalie and Lucy. They trying to get some punani. And y'all know how that go with a black man. A young black man, a young stallion buck. Man, them white people wasn't feeling that. So Wyatt brings up the argument from earlier because they're all intoxicated. Liquid Courage got this nigga on one. They begin to jump No-No, beating the shit out of No-No. And
yes, Andrew was trying to.
Now, the reason I skipped past him is because I don't believe that story, and at the end of the day, we've already heard it. Hold on. I don't want to go too far ahead.
Once they pull up the Nolan was killed. Morgan, conspiracy
with her. Okay, so this girl lied about speaking to Nolan's mom. So we know that that's a lie. We don't know if the story that she's telling is actually a lie. I saw her elaborating on the story even more on another post. Someone asked her, if this is true, it's confusing. If Nolan went to the pool party after the island, how did his body get discovered on the island? You're saying they beat him up at the pool. Why wait till now to tell his mother? She replies, his mother knew, ma'am. I've been told her, yes, Andrew was trying to keep us quiet and trying to put fear in us because he's bigger than all of us. But I told no, mom, and that's why the private autopsy was made. But yes, it was a big fight at Evan's house at the pool the same night. But yes, Wyatt and Andrew and Evan was jumping him after Evan's mom threatened to call the cops on everybody to leave her house. Everybody left, but no, didn't. He wanted his phone. And then she says, yes, ma'am, my brother going to get justice. The truth is out. They took him back to the island that Monday morning around 4 a.m.
Now, how would she know all of this? Was she there with them? Did she stay at the house? Because I thought the lady kicked everybody out. How would she know? Who told her this information? Okay? This is all just a bunch of BS. Okay? I don't believe any of it. And I know people want to believe some of it because it sounds plausible, but I don't believe any of it. And I told you all from day one, when I first came across this information, I said, this sounds like a movie. And that's because it's a script. Okay? It's BS, in my opinion. Now, we have a troll here, okay? She's creative, has to be a troll, because you come in here talking about, why not talk about black on black killings? Well, why not talk about white on white killings? Why not talk about Mexican on Mexican, Asian on Asian? Why is it always black on black killings? That is such propagandist, okay? That is such a propagandist term. There is no such thing. Okay, it is a fact that all races kill people within their own race. And now you're talking about rage baiting. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. My question to you is, beloved, if you think that we're rage baiting, and if you want us to talk about, or you want to hear anyone talk about black on black killings, why don't you just do yourself a favor and go to a channel where they're talking about that? Because I'm sure that there are plenty of screw tubers, so let me just go ahead and block you. I'm sure there are plenty of YouTubers who are talking about the narrative the way you want to hear it. Okay? Why come here? These idiots are so obsessed with us. But let's continue.
They found him, I think, 8 or 9. I can show you the picture as well. I would tell you to go look at it, but Evan deleted the picture Sunday. She said, laugh out loud. I did. That's how they got his phone, because I called. And his phone and keys was on top of his Xbox. That's why they requested him to have a private autopsy because once they came to the house, Evan and Warren had deleted everything, including the vids Nono posted that night, and I showed them the pic of all of them at the pool party that night. And another response said, Jay saying that because he is friends with them. I mean, we all was until this. I don't know why Jay's still communicating with them anyway, but he always been like that, laugh out loud. But nah, this messed up because Nono would still be here if he didn't go to that pool party. He went around people that was real high and the parents allowed it. But yeah, Nono did make it back to land.
First of all, this all is starting to sound real crazy. It's all starting to sound real crazy. First of all, she said Andrew is bigger than all of them. He could beat them up. Okay, y'all couldn't jump him if he tried. How does that even make sense? And then she's also trying to take credit for things, the clout chasing, because she also says, I don't even know if it's a she. It could be a whole he. We don't know. When weirdos make up stories and create fake accounts and just put stuff out there to clout chase or just to throw people out off the scent and to muddy the waters, who knows what they're thinking in their own crazy minds, okay? But I find it also interesting. Hold on, let her finish and then I'll continue.
Don't know the truth of what really happened until we get all the evidence from his phone. So hopefully they're able to recover everything. Hopefully we hear back from the coroners about the autopsy so we can see what his cause of death is, and that'll give us more answers. Everybody is really determined to figure out what happened to Nolan because nothing makes any sense. So a lot of us are seeing shit and we just want to spread the news of what we hear. But keep in mind, all of this stuff is alleged.
When I heard about...
Now, let me say this, okay? That person, the Spencer person, they were also trying to take credit for Nolan's parents, deciding to have a second autopsy. Because they said it twice, acted as though things that they said, like they talked to Nolan's mom, oh, I've been told her. You've been told her how long ago? Okay? Oh, she knows. I've been told her. That's a serious lie, okay? For someone to just make up something like that, how could anybody in their right mind believe anything that came out of their mouth after that? Okay, please don't be played for fools. Okay? Now, Nene said, thank you for dealing with her, Queen. She was getting on my nerves. Yeah, I know. She was getting on mine, too. I was trying to give her a minute to see what else she was going to come up with. But she had to go. Ebony says, if the police were doing their job, we wouldn't have to speculate. Exactly, beloved. And that's just the honest truth. If they were doing their job from day one, we wouldn't have to speculate. From day one, the cover-up started. Because the thing of it is, down there in Mississippi, we know their history. We also know that they don't want to blame white folk for taking the lives of black folk because sometimes they really just don't care. The MAGA minions, they never care. And that's why I tell you all the time, they don't care about facts, truth, or evidence. Okay, but if it was the other way around, they would absolutely be upset and going on. All hell would have broken loose, and everyone who they thought was involved would have been in jail. Okay, I guarantee you they would have been brought in for charges. They'd have been trying to figure out who supplied the alcohol, the illegal substances, and if it was a black judge who came out making statements trying to clear their stepson, they would have suffered consequences. Okay, just like former Judge Carlos Moore said he did. Okay, this is also ridiculous. Okay, Love and Happiness says no one leaves their phone and just disappears. Exactly. And here's another thing about Javon. If you remember, in the beginning of this whole story, right, when it first came out, there was a report that said that Javon and Nolan both left their phones on the boat. Do you all remember that? Put a 1 in the chat if you all remember that. Put a 1 in the chat if you remember that. Okay? That they both said, that supposedly they both left their phones on the boat. Now, my question is, why would their phones be on the same boat when they rode on different boats? And then let's not forget how Javon said that he was off with his other friends, and then when he came back, the boat was gone. So he thought that Nolan just left with them. Well, if your phone was on that boat that you thought Nolan left on, and then you got your phone later, make that make sense. Remember, he tried to say something about that in the TMZ interview. He said, yeah, if y'all are wondering how I got my phone, he said something about he went and got his phone or whatever. But when he went and got his phone and he didn't see Nolan, he didn't ask them where Nolan was. He didn't call Nolan all day. He didn't call your best friend all day after y'all left. You didn't think it was strange that you didn't talk to Nolan all day after you left the island. You see how none of this is adding up? Let's continue. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. These were not his friends. Okay. The dude, yes, he was there. Juju, where have you been? Yeah, he was on the island with them. He just didn't ride on the same boat because he was told that the boat was too full. So he rode on another one. And why is he acting so callous and nonchalant about the whole thing and referring to Nolan as the body? The body was discovered. The body, not even his body, the body. I believe that's what he said. Okay. I think that Javon knows that they killed him and he's just not going to say anything because he doesn't want to be next, maybe. Or, I don't know what the thing is. Okay. Maybe he was in on it. I don't know. But at this point, I don't believe any of them. They're all lying, including Javon. But let's continue.
The death of Nolan Wells, a young black man found off a Mississippi barrier island. My heart dropped in my stomach. I know Horn Island like the back of my hand. Black people do not frequent it. The last time I was there was about 6 years ago. It's yacht people, heavy drinking. You can't get there without a decent boat. In Jackson County, most black people do not own boats. So he went with friends. They left him there, claiming he was going to get a ride with someone else. This is highly unlikely. A young black man alone hitching a 10-mile ride back to the coast with strangers is improbable. They found him face down in the water. His body is being flown to DC for an unbiased autopsy. There are only 3 ways to die on Horn Island outside of drowning: getting shot, stabbed, or knocked in the head. The autopsy will reveal this. This is where it's gut-wrenching for me. I'm probably not going to do this adequate service. But the thing about the South's Gulf Coast is that it's a complicated, multi-layered race relationship, a bleed over from New Orleans. In my experience, it lacks the overt hostility found in other parts of the South. You see black and white people having conversations in Walmart ballparks. They all live together. And believe it or not, they tend to take care of each other. All that really doesn't happen everywhere. I'm extremely emotional as I write this. I hope people understand when I say this, that I pray he just drowned. My heart is breaking for his family. Rest in peace, Nolan.
I don't know if I should be the one to say it, but God is using Nolan Wells.
Let me just say, Reggie, I'm sorry for your loss, beloveds. Losing a friend of 35 years has to be a whole lot, okay? So with that all been said, I'm sorry that happened to you. Peace, love, and condolences.
Through his death. Look at the peaceful protest. Look at all the United States coming together trying to figure out what happened to him. Look at all the Facebook detectives, YouTube detectives, all these people coming together trying to solve this for the family. I mean, it's actually very beautiful. I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. That boy should have never experienced that. I can't even speak on it because it's horrible. It's horrific. But there is a blessing in disguise. Remember that.
Here we go again. The plot continues to thicken. See, this was one of the situations, conversations that were brought up earlier, but nobody really harped on it, okay? About a couple of these boys using a certain substance. You know what that substance is. Rhymes with Rogaine. So now...
He said it rhymes with Rogaine.
Now you got a situation where, said to alleged, we're going to use alleged so that white people feel better. But see, we know in Mississippi, this the truth. It's too little. Ben Crumpton came in, folks scared now. Now they want to talk. Okay?
That is true. Okay, that is true. I think I mentioned that the other day, that now Ben Crump has gotten involved. Now they're all shaking in their boots. Okay, now everybody's trying to come up with stories. Javon goes on TMZ trying to dispute the narrative of it being about race. Okay, trying to debunk the fact that, people thought that was Nolan's voice in the background. The friend then comes out and confirms, yeah, it was me. It wasn't him. Isn't that what Trayston said? Another black friend, mind you. You see how they're getting the black friends to clean up the mess? Now, maybe that was actually Trayston's voice. Maybe he was actually arguing with his girlfriend, but we don't know. Because at this point, we really don't know what exactly to believe. But what we do know is that they have 2 of Nolan's black friends coming out speaking to the media, because we had one go on TMZ and the other one did an interview with Rolling Stone. That's what I read you all this morning, where he clarified and supposedly verified that it was him, in fact, not Nolan. Do you all see what's going on here? Do you all see the play? While the white friends, not friends, the frenemies, while they sit back, and get their stories together, try to get rid of any more evidence, allegedly, in my opinion, okay, and get their parents to help cover for them and all of that, and have their lawyers telling them what to do and what to not do, and what to say and what not to say, and all of that. They have the two black guys come out, and they're picking up the slack. You see how that works? You see, this is why even racist white folk keep a couple of good black friends. That's why, for times such as these. So if anyone accuses them of being racist, they can say, I'm not racist. I have black friends. And then if they get accused of doing something to one of their black friends, they can get the other black friend to come out and cape for them. No, it doesn't have anything to do with race, but that's what y'all are going to say. Okay, please pay attention.
Ledbetter ain't gonna do nothing. We know that. If anything happened, it's gonna come from an out-of-state source from the federal government saying, we done heard too much about this. Mississippi, we tired of y'all. Okay? It's gonna be just like what happened back in the 60s when they got tired of Mississippi ass and the president said, man, send them folks down there. He sent some goddamn Italian mob members down there to find out what was going on. And let white folks who didn't give a fuck about racist white folks torture their white asses. That's how we found out what was going on in the 60s. They're going to have to do this with this. But back to what I'm saying. Now there's this substance. Okay, here's the alleged statement by the young lady.
Now, we're going to skip right past this because I don't believe a word of that statement at this point, okay? I just don't. Well, let's see what he has to say about this picture.
He do. When Ben Crump get them silver suits, when he hit white communities like this and they have to give up millions of dollars to black people for wrongful death suits, even if we don't get it in the court of law guilty on them. White folk love money. So what they do is after Ben Crump get all this money from them, they start self-purging themselves. Whoever the white folks are responsible for, they get rid of their asses. They say, you costing us too much goddamn money, and that's all we care about. So Ben Crump gonna help us in this. But yeah, white folks. So now y'all want to talk that shit. And now it's steadily coming out. More and more information about what happened to this young man.
They literally, with that story, with that girl coming out saying that stuff, that was just sending us in circles. Okay, like a dog chasing its own tail. Please pay attention. Now let's go to this video of this foolish MAGA minion, okay, and what he had to say. Robin said the statement is false. I absolutely believe it's false. I don't believe anything she said now that Nolan's mother has said she doesn't know that young lady, didn't talk to that person, and they were not close with Nolan. I don't believe anything else they've said at that point. There's no need to. Okay, all credibility is gone. And then another thing is, how would they have known all of the things that they claim to have known? I'm just going to wait for the autopsy report, okay? That's what I'm going to do.
That they went to the island with him a whole year. They went out to Horn Island together a whole year and picked the 4th of July and picked the 3rd, whatever, of July to kill him. Not all y'all think that he was killed because this is a race thing. Not all y'all think it's a race thing, but these extremists, these people that grow their social media accounts and make money and march in purple shirts like clowns, that's who you think that they went.
So I left him a comment telling him that he's the darn clown. Now, when he threw that out there saying marching in purple shirts like clowns, of course he's talking about the Hebrews, okay? That's what he's talking. That's who he's talking about, because they had the protests down there. All right. So sit down somewhere. And that's so stupid anyway. Just because they went there with him 100 times or however many doesn't mean that they didn't do something to him. Okay, you see how that's so stupid? Now, would he be making that same argument if it was someone who looked like him, who'd gone there 100 times with a group of black people, and then all of a sudden on the 4th of July, they turn up missing, then days later they're found dead? I guarantee you he wouldn't be making that asinine argument, but this is what the devils do. Okay, please pay attention. It is so annoying. Okay, like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Why Nolan Wells was left on Horn Island and was not taken back on the boat with his friends.
This video really upset me. It really upset me. And I don't get into beef with other creators, and I'm really not looking to do that necessarily. I hope, ma'am, that you will take that video down and donate whatever money you made from the 1.7 million views that you've had on that video to the GoFundMe for the Wells family to support that family and the burial of their son, Nolan Wells. I am shocked and horrified. No, I shouldn't say shocked. You frame your video as though you are giving confirmed breaking news, and the breaking news you're referring to comes from the statement made by the mother of one of the boys who abandoned Nolan Wells on that island, at best. At worst, had something to do with why he is no longer alive. She put that statement out saying what happened, and you're presenting it as though it is fact. That is so dangerous. And if it were just any old average random person, I would probably have made this video in a very different tone, where I might have said, hey, calling you in, I'm going to pull you in and tell you, like, maybe you got a little too excited about breaking news, or thinking that you were letting people know, or that you were giving some, raising the profile of the case so that people would have eyes on it. You made a mistake, but please, correct that mistake and take that video down. But because your entire account is about being a true crime author, I'm struggling to approach you initially with the empathy and compassion that I might normally do when I think someone's genuinely made an honest mistake. You have made an account where you're profiting off of true crime. I'm not judging you for that, but for this literally just happened. This case is still unfolding. You are a white woman. You are profiting heavily off of the videos that you are making on this account, because you have a big account on this app. You are putting misinformation out there. You are acting as a mouthpiece for white supremacy, for the white parents of the white children who played some role in the death of this boy, whether that's simply by carelessly abandoning him and not really caring about what happened to him, or whether they actually were involved in what happened to him directly and they're covering it up. So you're taking the white lady's statement about her potentially guilty son and amplifying it as though it's the truth. And although you say later on in the video that this is where the information came from, you're acting as though because this woman said it, that it's true and that we can just say, yep, that's what happened. Take the video down, issue a correction, point people who follow your channel towards Black creators who are talking about what happened to Nolan Wells, and donate any money you have earned on that video or any others about Nolan Wells to the GoFundMe campaign that's been set up for the family. And maybe this should go without saying, but even if you plan to make your career and your living as a true crime author, have better judgment than you have shown this week with Nolan Wells.
Okay, she came out like it was facts and proof. She said, so now we have an explanation. No, we don't. Okay, no, we don't. Lady, sit down somewhere. I'm glad she told her about herself. Nene said, say it, lady. Exactly. Okay, so now let's go to this case where they say there was a murder of another Black child that was covered up in Mississippi. Okay, this is a brief clip. We're going to go to that, but also another Black woman who says that something similar happened to her son. Let's get into it. I shared these on my X account. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. The likes are not liking, people. The likes are just not liking. Can we do a better job, please? Thank you in advance.
Shannon Wilson, a 13-year-old boy. Friends pushed him in the creek in Mississippi. Guess who was the medical examiner who covered it up? Ding, 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 ding. Stacy fucking Turner again. Crump, this is 0 for 3 for Stacy. The brother of this kid just came in my inbox. Stacy Turner told this family that they don't perform autopsies on drowning victims. So this family again had to pay out of pocket, bring their child to a different state for a private autopsy. Stacy Turner, you are public enemy number 1 in my book.
Now, with that all being said, they have absolutely been saying, people from down there have been saying that the medical examiner is shady. Okay, I can't verify that, but clearly it sounds like it. Okay, so Michael Lee says, and them guys' parents need to be booked in or booked if they have lawyers from day one. Come on now, they puppies told them the truth about what happened. They know all them judges, quarterback, everything. Well, yeah, their kids did tell them the truth, I'm sure, because they wanted them to help, give them some help in getting out of it. That's my opinion. But you know, we're not going to get to the bottom of it until and only if when the autopsy report comes back. Then maybe we'll have more significant evidence. Now, here's the thing: if he did actually drown, that's going to be something, because even if he drowned, I think they had something to do with it. But if he actually drowned, they're just going to say it was an accidental drowning. That's what they're going to say. Just watch what I tell you. And Michael Lee, beloved, thank you for insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now let's go to this woman who says that she had a similar experience.
Hi, my name's Shira Davis, and my son's name's TJ Davis, and I'll tell you about him in a minute. I want to tell Nolan Wells' family my deepest condolence. I'm so sorry about your baby, and I know firsthand. In 2021, August 29th, my son was out with 4 white tee young men. And this is in St. Paul, Minnesota. I get a knock on the door early in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, that my son is gone. My son was a swimmer. He had swimming lessons. He was the strongest and the biggest out of all of them. And none of them have talked. None of them have talked to the police. They don't want to. It's going on 5 years. 5. August 29th this year. He would have been 26 years old this year. His father, my son's father, showed me the link yesterday about Nolan Wells. And it was very triggering for both of us, because it's like the similar, very similar. But none of my videos about my son went viral. All you creators that I tagged, that I asked, didn't talk about my son. And that hurts. And I'm not taking anything away from Nolan Wells and his family at all. But y'all pick and choose who you want to talk about. And I'm still trying to find answers. Let's talk about Kendrick Johnson Jr., Miss Jackie, and Mr. Kendrick Sr., 13 years, and they still don't have answers. And I don't see y'all blowing that up either. Do better. I will keep making videos. I'm just so burnt out. Grief is taking a lot out of me. And that's what happens when you lose a child. And I just want to say, dear Black parents, don't let your Black child, I don't care if it's female, male, go out with all white tee people, because you don't know. You don't know if they're going to make it another day. You just don't know. So I'm going to show you pictures of my son and 3 of the white tee men he was with, because the other one, I can't find pictures. Please share TikTok. I do not ask much, y'all. I got like 25,000 followers. And I need you to repost it, share, like y'all been doing with Nolan Wells. Have a good evening.
Well, I am certainly sorry for her loss. That is so sad. And the creators that she reached out to, I don't know why they didn't want to talk about her story, because clearly, if she had reached out to me, I would have talked about it. I mean, I talk about these stories whenever they come out, and I always have. And if you all remember, you know, I reported on Jason Smith, the 14-year-old down there in Louisiana. Okay, and how he turned up dead. His family never got justice. And also, as a matter of fact, on my video that I play at the end, when you see those black people marching in the all black outfits, those are the black riders or the night riders. I think they're called the black riders, but they were protesting, they were marching because of Jason Smith down there in Louisiana. Okay, so I cover all of these stories. I don't care, you know, if one's more popular than the other or whatever. I've still been reporting on stories as I'm reporting on Nolan of other black children, you know, being found in lakes and all of these things. So I'm sorry she didn't get justice. I'm sorry no one shared her son's story. At the end of the day, I know that has to make her feel bad, because it probably makes her feel as though, you know, we don't think her son was as important as Nolan. Who knows what she thinks? But I also want to go to this video, and we're going to be closing out soon, but I will be back in the morning, okay? Bookhorse DC said, remember a couple of those interviews, Queen. Right. Thank you, beloved. Okay, so listen, I want you all to see this video, because this just goes to show how, you know, it's always been a crime in the United States for Black people to protect and defend themselves against the people who don't look like us. If you take their lives, they never want to say that self-defense, even when they absolutely know that it is. Okay, even when they absolutely know that it is, they don't want to say that. But here's the thing: you can be on a dating app and go out with one of them for the first time, end up dead in their own home, and just tell the police whatever you want to tell them, or they can say whatever, you know, they want to tell the police, and the police will just say, you know, they'll just take them at their word. Remember the stories I've done about Black women going out with these white men that they've met online on these dating apps, turning up dead the next day? None of them were arrested. None of them have been arrested. And in fact, in one of the cases, if you remember, I told you how the police said, oh, he seemed like a very nice guy. That's what they said when they were talking to him. He seemed like a very nice guy. What about the one who invited the young lady over, and then she turned up dead, and he said that she was sick and she was in his bathroom throwing up or whatever, or that she was in the bed and she was sick or something like that? Okay, well, first of all, what was in her drink? Did they do a toxicology report? I have so many questions. Okay, there were 2 cups there, so clearly both of them were drinking. Why did it make her sick? And why didn't he call the ambulance or ask her if she needed medical attention? Okay, but the police didn't ask these questions. They didn't think to ask these questions. They just don't want to give them culpability or accountability. Okay, now let's go to this clip, because in 1950, a 14-year-old by the name of Celia was bought as a slave by a 60-year-old white man. He raped her for years. And by 19, while pregnant with her 3rd child, he did it again, and she snapped and killed him. Let's get into it. This sounds like the story of that woman named Reese. I can't remember Reese's last name. I'll have to look it up.
Black history that you did not learn in school. In 1850, a 14-year-old girl named Celia was purchased into slavery by a man named Robert Newsom. He was 60 years old. She was the only female slave that he had owned, and intentionally isolated her from the male slaves that he had on the property. Starting from the day she was purchased, she endured a 5-year spree of constant rape and abuse. By the way, she was the same age as his youngest daughter. Then things take a turn. One night, while she was experiencing poor health from her now 3rd pregnancy at the age of only 19, he again forced himself on her. But this time, something snapped in Celia. She had finally had enough, and in a fight, she hit him over the head twice with 2 large sticks. Upon realizing that this had actually offed him, she panicked and actually tried to hide it by throwing his body into the fireplace. But she eventually confessed the next day. Due to her status as an enslaved woman, she wasn't able to testify on her own behalf at trial, but she was given some good legal counsel. Her lawyer argued, citing Missouri law, that said that homicide could be deemed justifiable if it's committed by somebody in an attempt to resist a felony, and rape was a felony. He also cited that Missouri law did not make any distinctions by race, but the judge made sure to remind the jury members that Celia was a slave, and slaves were considered property, and property could not legally consent. The all-white jury shortly sentenced her to death by hanging. This heartbreaking case is a reminder that slavery was not just picking cotton and an economic empire, but it was also the playground where many sick men could enact their most carnal desires and instincts without any guardrails. Maybe the saddest part in all this is that there are likely countless other Celias.
And that is just so sad, okay? Didn't even have the right to defend herself. Now, that lady Reese that I was talking about, let me get back to that story because I made a mistake. So here's what actually happened. Hold on. And there's a documentary about this on Netflix, I do believe. I'm going to have to watch it. Reese Taylor, that was her name. Okay, she was gang raped by 6 white men. She refused to be silent, and NAACP's subsequent investigation, led by Rosa Parks, became a foundational catalyst for the civil rights movement. Okay, now with that all being said, she didn't kill her attacker. She tried to get justice. That's another story that I mixed with this one accidentally. But here's the thing. There was no accountability. The police did not even go after her assailants. Okay, no assailants arrested. Despite the driver of the car confessing and naming the other 5 white men involved, local police never arrested any of them. One of them confessed, still wasn't arrested. Grand jury refusals. Because local law enforcement refused to conduct lineups or process the suspects, an all-white, all-male grand jury dismissed the case in October of 1944 after just 5 minutes of deliberation. A second grand jury in February of 1945 similarly refused to issue indictments. And that's a darn shame because you know that they can indict a ham sandwich if they want to. Okay, remember that joke amongst prosecutors? So they just didn't want to. Now, mind you, decades later, the Alabama legislature issued an official apology to Taylor for the state's total failure to prosecute her attackers. Okay, a lot of good that did. This is what they do. This is what they do. Black people don't get justice. They vilify us and demonize us even when we're the victims. They falsely accuse us and wrongly convict us. Okay? And then 70 years later, they say, oh, we made a mistake. We got it wrong. George Stinney, even though he was 14 years old and we thought, as little as he was, that he could have actually raped and killed those 2 little white girls. Well, now we found out later that it wasn't him. Sorry for the execution and taking his life. These are the things they do. So are we supposed to just forgive and forget? This is all so ridiculous. Anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Oh, hold on. Before I go, let me just say this. They're having a walk for Nolan. Okay, this is going to be July the 26th at 4 p.m. It's going to be a 4-mile walk. Okay, a walk for justice. You know, I really hope that they get to the bottom of this because at the end of the day, his parents absolutely deserve justice. And I don't want them to have to be like Kendrick Johnson's parents, 13 years later and still no arrest, still no justice. They've even been sued by the people they accused of being involved in Kendrick's death. Okay? The lady that we just listened to, 5 or 6 years and still no justice for the loss of her son. All of the other stories that I've reported to you recently in the past few days about Black teenagers, young men being found in lakes, rivers, hanging from trees. No justice. Their lives just discarded and their stories, you know, just swept under the rug. And it all being painted as though, oh, nothing to see here. They did this to themselves. Blaming the victims. Everyone that is strange fruit is said to have done that to themselves. They said Nolan chose to stay at that island. Why would he choose to stay there? He wasn't that desperate to talk to that girl, clearly. He could have talked to her when he got home. In fact, he could have invited her to whatever event or whatever he was going to do after. Could have went and met up with her elsewhere. Why would he need to stay on that island just to talk to Katie McCormick? That doesn't make sense. Why would you ever let your ride leave? And like I told you all days ago, it definitely doesn't make sense because Nolan had left his car and his keys and his wallet at his friend's house because he spent the night there. Why would he not go back with those same friends? Your belongings are at their house. You're going to need your car and your car keys and your wallet. But now, if you ride with someone else, which these people are strangers, because did he even know Katie? No, he met her that day. So why would he opt to ride with strangers and not his own friends, and then have to worry about getting back to his car and keys? And also, let me remind you, not having his cell phone. None of it makes any sense, and it never made any sense. But like I said, let's stick to the facts and what does make sense. And let's not just start buying into these narratives that are being put out there and believing what these people are saying on social media. Because at the end of the day, anybody behind a keyboard, okay, can say anything. They can say anything. They can make a good story, make it sound plausible, make it sound so truthful, okay, make themselves seem so sincere. But if that person, Spencer, Alacia Spencer, whatever her name is, if she was so sincere and she was so honest and telling the truth, she could easily have anonymously given the police some information. Also, someone in the chat, I can't remember who it was, said that they were going to send me the information as to why or how they came to the conclusion that she already said. Hold on, let me see if I see the email. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't see it. You didn't send me the email, beloved, and you asked for the email. I gave it to you in the chat, but you didn't send me the proof or the source of where you got that from. And that's what I'm talking about. We can't just be listening to all kind of BS at the end of the day. Okay? We need to be looking for the truth. And we know that it's nefarious down there in Mississippi. We know they have a whole history of racism, Black folks coming up missing, their stories not being reported on the media. You know, a few years ago, there were stories about Black men being found missing down there and then turned up swinging from trees. It was never covered on the news. Okay, it was never covered on the news. Okay, Pincelola said, if one of mine missing, I'm the popo. Okay, Mag said, don't sleep on Katie. Maybe Nola was going to wait until Katie get picked up by whomever was to pick it up. But here's the thing. That doesn't even make sense either, beloved, because if someone was coming to pick Katie up, how would Nolan know that they were coming, that they were going to give him a ride as well? And also, how did Katie contact these people to come pick her up? Did she luckily get cell service? Because they say there's not really cell service out there. How did she get there in the first place that she needed her uncle and someone else to come pick her up? According to her mother. That's what her mother said, right? Isn't that what her mother said? Hold on, let me go pull that back up. Katie was safe because my brother and sister-in-law went and got her. Why did she first of all say Katie was safe? You all didn't catch that? Why would she say Katie was safe? Why would she use that terminology? Katie was safe because my brother and sister-in-law went and got her. Was something maybe going on the island that was unsafe? And that's why someone came to get her? How did she get there in the first place? How did she call her uncle and sister-in-law or aunt, the mother's sister-in-law, to come and get her? I don't know, but I intend to find out some things. I'm going to be doing some serious research tonight because I'm like Al Sharpton at this point. Something doesn't smell right, okay? And we want the truth. We don't want painted narratives, okay, or drawn conclusions that come from out of thin air. That's what we shouldn't want. Unique says Nolan's parents were too trusting and wanted to fit in raising their son. Now, I wouldn't say that. What would make you think that they wanted to fit in raising their son, beloved? Because Nolan had white friends. He also had a group of Black friends. And who Nolan chose as friends, really, to me, doesn't have anything to do with his parents. Kids go out there and befriend who they want to befriend. And unless they're out there just blatantly doing things that are criminal and the parents know about it, parents usually don't try to tell them who not to be friends with unless they think they're a bad influence. And with these rich white kids, I'm sure even if they were doing these illegal substances, as has been alleged, Nolan's parents likely didn't know about that. So I can't blame them for any of this. I just think that Nolan was a fun-loving person who was friendly, and he just had a lot of friends, and a lot of people liked to be around him. Okay? That's just what I think. Oh, Beverly, thank you for a super sticker donation, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so now with that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast, beloveds. We've got to figure this out. Now, tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to have for you, but I'm going to have some information because I'm going to be doing some serious research, like I told you all. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not trying to believe these lies. That story, like I said, that we all were falling for clearly about the fight at the house and all of that, him being beaten and everything, it all sounded plausible, specifically. But here's the thing: you have to understand that with the information that's already out, that anyone could craft a narrative to fit what has been put out already. Okay, that's all they have to do. If they're looking at all of the evidence that's been put out, what the family has said, the parents, what the police have said, what the friends have said or not said, they could clearly craft their story around that. And let me tell you something else too. I absolutely believe that that picture was probably taken on June 27th, like they're saying. But here's what made a lot of people believe that it absolutely was the 4th of July. Because this dude right here has USA on his chest. Another thing I noticed was some of the people in the picture looked uncomfortable. First of all, look how he's staring. He looks like a deer in the headlights. This person right here looks clearly frightened. Why is he looking like that? And then supposedly this is Nolan. Okay? So, what do they know? What are they hiding? What are they hiding? They're hiding something. They're definitely hiding something. And see, here's the thing. Hold on. There's something else I wanted to tell you all real quick. Hold on. And I found this last night. Hold on, beloveds. Hold on. Let me just pull this up really quickly. Now, listen. These police officers absolutely know that teenagers lie and that they can be very nefarious and methodical. There was a case back in 2012 where there was a murder of a 16-year-old by the name of Skylar Neese in Star City, West Virginia. It's a prominent case, okay? Her two white teenage best friends, Sheila Edie and Rachel Schoaf, plotted to kill her. They lured her into the woods where they then stabbed her to death. They spent months lying to her parents and the police to cover it up. Okay? The police know these things. They've heard about these cases. Now, after committing the murder, the teens created an elaborate cover story. They initially claimed that they dropped Denise off at home after a drive. They fed false leads to the police. That's the same thing they're doing to us on social media. They staged a search party and maintained an ongoing deception for months. Edie even posted on social media to express fake concern about Niece's disappearance. Now, the cover up finally unraveled in January of 2013 when Schoaf broke down under questioning and confessed to the crime, leading investigators to Niece's hidden body. Schoaf pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Edie pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Now, the interesting thing for me about this whole story was that what did they do? The police started questioning them, and one of them broke down and confessed. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay, that's what I told you all. Why didn't the police bring them in for questioning one by one, play good cop, bad cop, and get them to start talking? Okay, why didn't they do that? Because they know how it goes with these teenagers. Okay, Gregory says the truth will come out with Nolan also, and I hope and pray that it does. I think that somebody is going to crack. Okay, because see, now the pressure is on because Ben Crump is in it, and that second autopsy, it's going to reveal some things. Because here's the thing, If Nolan did not drown and there's no water in his lungs, then what's that going to tell us? What's that going to tell us? That somebody did something to him and then took him and placed him there. Okay? So with that all been said, stay tuned. All right, we're still searching for the truth, and we won't stop until justice. All right, with that all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got